Welcome to the onsiteinsightpodcast. I'm your host, Corey Tompkins, and we're on a mission to bring the insight on what actually happens on site amongst the trade community. Today, we have an exciting guest. Joining us from the sunny shores of the Gold Coast is ChrissyTeeTheChippy, a man whose journey has been as diverse and inspiring as the skills he's mastered along the way. Born in Shepparton, Victoria, Chris has called many places home, from the bustling streets of Melbourne to the tranquil bushland of Swan Hill, and finally to the Gold Coast. The oldest of three boys, Chris grew up in the heart of the Australian bush, surrounded by a family that loves sport, especially footy. But that's not what just defines him. It's his journey through the ranks of carpentry and his adult apprenticeship that brings us the unique story today. Chris has developed not just a trade, but a passion for it. Now as a father of two, soon-to-be schoolgoers, he balances the joy and the challenges of parenthood with demand of the job. His experiences, both personally and professionally, shape the insights on what he will be sharing with us today. So sit back, relax, and listen up. Chris, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
Formalities are out of the way. So yeah, we were just touching on it briefly before, Chris. So just tell me a little bit about yourself, what you've been up to. I know you've done this before. It's not your first rodeo, but just try to tell us about, a brief thing about your journey with your apprenticeship and, your qualification now, what you plan on doing, what you've done in the past, why you started carpentry. Just, give us a little bit of a backstory.
Well, the reason I started carpentry, I think I just loved it from a young age. I remember growing up, very, very young age, like I said, in the very dry area near Swan Hill with all my cousins and stuff, and we were always building cubby houses, and we'd always try and go pretty extreme and building little 2-3 story cubby houses in trees and that. So reflecting on that, I sort of must have had it instilled in me pretty young, and always helping the old man out, and in the yard I was always pretty intrigued with tools and stuff like that. So it started at a very young age, and then I was an early school leaver. I didn't finish year 10. I think I finished halfway through year 10, and actually did I think it was like 9 months of a carpentry apprenticeship at the time. In Melbourne, you're catching two buses and to get to a factory, and that was sort of a bit annoying, but ended up.
And how old were you then?
At the time, I think I was 15.
Yeah,
15 at the time. So getting up at 4:30.
Yeah, that would have been
every
fun.
Morning, making my own lunch, and because when I left school, Mum said, happy for you to leave school, whatever, but you got to earn some money. I'm
you won't be sitting at home doing nothing.
Not here to pay your way for you. So if you need money, you need to go work for it. So had a few random jobs and the apprenticeship, but that sort of wasn't what I always wanted to do. Always wanted to be a chippy even at that young age, but didn't get to it. But it was a pretty weird one. Then I worked at a sports academy for 7 years when I moved back to Shepparton, which was an awesome experience in itself, which is probably why I put carpentry on the back burner, because
And what were you doing there?
A few different roles. So in Shepparton, there's a Aboriginal footy club that plays in the normal comp. They partnered up with Melbourne Uni. Yeah. And they wanted to bridge the gap between Aboriginal students between high school and trying to get them to uni. Yeah. So this program come about, and I actually went there to study for a couple of years when I first moved back to Shep. And then, they offered me a job there. So I was sort of like a teacher's aide for a while, and then later on running their sports programs. Yeah. And then, and then after that, got with my partner in 2013, and then, she was moving up here, and I said, I'll come along for the ride as well. Yeah. And then, the rest is history. Been up here on the Goldie nearly 10 years now. So
lots changed.
Yeah, definitely. Even in 10 years.
Have you stayed in Coomera the whole time, or have you sort of gone up and down the coast, or
a little bit around? We when we first moved up, we were in Carrara, which is pretty It's a pretty good spot there. I'd love to get back to that area. It's sort of central to everything.
Yeah, prices have quadrupled.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we first moved up, we were only paying like $300 for rent a week.
Yeah.
Now I'm paying like 2.5 times that.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So, and then, first son, Brooklyn, come along. So then we we're in a townhouse, so we sort of had to move out. That's how Coomera come about, and we've been out there for a while now. So,
yeah. That's a good little journey anyway. So tell me the thing. So you've moved up here. We briefly touched on it before, but just explain it to me again. So the guy that you currently did your apprenticeship with, that you finished with, he was up here already, or how did that all unfold?
Oh, no. So, the guy that we were talking about earlier before we started this, he's originally born up here, born and bred. He lived up north a lot as well.
Yeah.
But I just got in touch with him through a mate through the footy club that I played with at Labrador. Yeah. And just got on with him. But because when I was working with him, he was only doing cladding. Yeah. So, like I said earlier, when I was working with him for 6 years and then needed to go back and get me ticket.
So you're already working for him for 6 years, doing cladding and stuff, as like a labourer?
Basically as a labourer. And then
But basically like a glorified labourer in the sense like you were still doing carpentry stuff.
Pretty much, I was towards the end running these jobs.
Yeah. But you just never really thought about, was it more now, so this is the sort of stuff that we want to sort of dive in on. Was it the reason for not doing the apprenticeship for those 6 years, was it more of a dollar reason, or was it just
pretty much. I think
because I've had guys in the past that have, had the opportunity to start earlier. Yeah. But at that point in time, they think, for the dollars, and then they go through the hurt of what you've had to go through. You know what I mean? Where you sort of just have to bite the bullet and go, I want to.
Yeah, I think it was just a little bit of everything. I think, obviously the dollars was a little bit, and then I think working for him. He didn't want to put an apprentice on or anything. He was just happy to keep me as a labourer. Yeah. And then because we just dived into cladding side of things, we didn't really do much other carpentry stuff. Yeah. And then I just didn't really cross my mind, to be honest. Yeah. At the time, and then when you're working flat out, next minute 3-4 years passes.
You're like, fuck.
Yeah. And then that's when I hit the 30 mark and got a 1-2-year-old, and then that's when I literally picked the phone up, rang him, and I said, mate, I want to go back and do my apprenticeship. Yeah, I need to get it done. 30, I don't want to get to 40 and be a labourer still with 2 or 3 kids. So. Yeah, and he was like, sweet, what do we need to do? Yeah. Who do we need to ring? Let's go find someone.
Yeah, so speak to us on that, the way that you got that through. Was that through RPL, or, what was the journey for you to actually get that? Because I know a few guys that have gone down that path, and it's not that easy. Yeah. Especially when you're trying to RPL stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think I've heard, a lot of shit stories about that side of thing. I think I've got pretty lucky with my teacher that I had. I went to with a builder who was my old boss's good mates. Went and laboured, just pretty much did a TA with him for a few months. Yeah. And I just kept hounding him. I said, mate, you might as well put me on, get all these perks, put me on. And he's like, yeah, stuff it. And then, he had a mate who was a trainer, and so I did all my theory online. Yeah. And then we sat down. It was like a good 2 days of what have you done? Tell me exactly what you've done over the last 5 or 6 years, and pretty much wrote down this big list. And, and then went through RPL. Yeah.
And you had to pay for that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like it all comes down to every single subject you do has a dollar sign next to it. So one could be $30, the next one could be $50, and when you got to do 30 of them,
it all adds up.
Quickly adds up. So but even in that, you still don't get too much RPL. Yeah. They still want you to do X amount of units and all the rest of it. So went through all that extensive process. And,
I've been told. Yeah, I've heard in the past that sometimes it's a fucking headache. Like we've had, guys that are, younger than you wanting to RPL it with less experience, doing it for less time. I've got a guy currently. He left about 12 months ago. Thinking that he could he's only been doing it for about 18 at that time anyway. He'd only been doing it for about 18 months to a year. I think he hadn't even done his first round of TAFE.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna get it all RPL'd. And I was like, yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
I was like, good luck, because also they don't make it easy. Like I know enough guys that have done it, and the documentation that you got to provide. You got to sit down. You got to explain it. It's all in detail. Sometimes it's better that it's to save the headache. Sometimes it's easier just to actually do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I think I just got pretty lucky with who I did mine with. So and he ended up being a good mate and a good friend in the end. He was a good mentor afterwards, because my trainer was a chippy for 20 years prior to being a trainer. So got a lot of. Had a few chats with him.
So tell me, being 30, being an adult apprentice now, did you get treated like a normal apprentice on site, or were you you're the one that's going to be picking that up, you're going to clean that up? Like, were you getting those tasks, or were you?
Yeah,
or,
definitely.
Or were you, and tell me, what were the guys that were above you? Were they younger than you? Were they older than you? Like, how did that all?
It definitely happened. That's for sure. And I was pretty lucky. I was with pretty small builder, and there was only 2 other chippies, and then the boss's son laboured for us as well. So definitely the first 6 months was a lot of picking shit up, cleaning.
You're moving this,
Chris, get on that. Go grab that. But then at the same time, what I did learn from those guys that I did work with was they realised me being on a broom and sweeping up probably isn't going to help us work faster or anything. So at the same token, they were like, get in here, learn this and learn that as quick as possible, because once you're on the tools full time and helping us out and being flat out, and the more the better it's going to be for the three of us to smash a lot of shit out. So it was good. It's
funny that, because I know so many guys that are young, that say they're 27, they're in an adult apprenticeship, but then they get a 22-year-old that's qualified. They get their nose out of joint when they're on site, and they're like, the 22-year-old goes, you go get this, go get that, clean this, clean that. And then the 27-year-old's like, I'm not down for that. Like they got a bit of an ego about them.
Yeah.
For those 6 months, maybe they were just testing the waters to see, if you were going to be the same, or if you could swallow it or whatever. And then after that, it was, go for it.
Yeah.
Just let you spread your wings, really.
Yeah, you definitely see a lot of it. So you just got to park your ego in the car park with you, I think, sometimes.
I still see it now, amongst, and you got fucking, 3, 4, 5 different apprentices all together. There's a little freaking pecking order all amongst them.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. So our job is always just to, instill them and say, listen, you guys are all apprentices. Yes, you might be a 4th year, you might be a 1st year, you might be an adult, he might not be, but all together, you're all the same. You know what I mean? You all fall under the same banner.
Yeah.
So, there's a little hierarchy between them all. So, but that's something for us to juggle. So, but that's good to hear. Like, that's some good advice for the guys that are out there anyway, that are thinking about getting in and doing it, and thinking about the hard road of, going down the RPL track anyway. So, what were most of the jobs that you were working on? Were they high profile? Like, were they, high residential jobs? Were they just the standard little renos, or were they multi-res, or what was the caliber of the stuff that you were doing?
Most with the first builder, they were high end res.
Yeah.
Renos.
Yeah.
Did it for a few small ones just to keep us ticking, but majority of the time they were pretty big.
Yeah.
Multi-million-dollar renos, and then
and is that something that you enjoy more? Like, do you enjoy those higher end sort of jobs that can take 6, 7, 12 months to build, or do you like the jobs that you sort of just get in and out and done?
That's funny. Yeah. Sometimes, obviously, I like the high end stuff. Obviously,
for the end product.
Yeah. Obviously, you step away from it, and you got this multi-million-dollar house on the water or something, and
it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks amazing, and sometimes you pinch yourself and go, "Shit, did I just actually do that?"
Yeah.
But then sometimes when it stretches out and you've been there for, like you said, 9 to 12 months, and you start to keep driving up the same street, and you're like, "Fuck, when's this gonna end?" Like
that was like I was literally. So I got a guy that works for us. He worked for, one of the prestige builders up and around Brisbane up here, and he's had that experience of being on jobs for 12 to 18 months. The one house, you're there every single day. Yes, you get to be through each stage, but as a lot of the guys have said, even when you're a chippy for these guys, when you go to do frame stage, you might not touch another frame for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Or vice versa, like cladding or whatever you're doing at that particular point for that job. Yeah, you're going through each stage, but you've nearly become out of touch to that. Like, yes, you've experienced what it's like watching all the other trades and how it all sort of comes together. So I feel like that as a, for the chippies that are out there, I feel like it's good to grasp that as a whole, to see that. But I feel like it's also good on the other aspect to hone in on the particular skills that
100%,
as a chippy knows, because if you're only doing a frame once every 2 years, I guarantee you when the time comes, if you've got to do more, like when that time comes again in 2 years, you're not going to be
different regs.
Who knows? You know what I mean? Different suppliers, different products. You could be out of touch completely.
100%. I know exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm nearly at. I know. It's the exact thought I've had probably with myself for the last 3 to 6 months. Obviously working for myself and just doing little bits and pieces here and there, and I'm like tossing and turning. Do I try and jump back in with a builder or something, or jump in and do 3-4 months of framing just to get back into it and touching or cladding or whatever it might be? But I know exactly how that feels.
And it's a tough one, because it's like it really depends which way you go about it. Like for me personally, I come in on the other end of doing the builds and then going into the contracting space of the volume stuff. So I've got a grasp of doing bigger jobs, and then doing we do a lot of units in that now. But so I come from that, so it was a lot easier. But I've seen it in the past where it's a lot harder, where guys go from the contracting aspect of they've done frames for the last 18 months. And then they go to a, $1 million builder. I'm a chippy, and then the builder, some builders anyway, I don't know what the builders were like that you've worked with, but some of the builders that I know, they get you to tie the steel, they get you to do this. And then don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. Like some of my guys have pulled me aside and they're, this is fucking shit. Like there's times for it. And I think there's good learning to be done in those times. Do I think that as a chippy you should be doing that unless you're planning on being a builder your whole trade? Do I think that's something that you should do all the time? I don't think so. For me, I've sort of we have it as part of our interview process, and what I expect as a carpenter. But I fully believe that you should be able to get given a set of plans and be able to build that house in context, within reason. You should be able to get a set of plans, whether it's a high set, low set, and like in a nutshell, know like this is what's going to happen, the process. What are we doing? The slab and all that. So,
100%.
Where I've had guys that have gone in that have been a chippy for some of the most prestige builders getting around there on social media that you would know about. They've come in and applied for roles within us, and you get them on the jobs, and you're like, have you done this? And he's like, I haven't done it in the last 3 years. So it's like, okay, well,
nice.
So that's just, something for us that has been a bit of a challenge. But all right, guys, congratulations. You're halfway through this episode. I hope you guys are really enjoying it. But first, I just want to make a special thank you to Ideal Group Australia. Without them, I wouldn't be able to bring this podcast to you. So special thank you. I hope you guys are enjoying it. buckle in and get ready to listen to the end of this episode. No, that's good. So what's some of the stuff that you're doing now currently for yourself? Are you doing just maintenance work or contracting work, or are you subbing, or what are you?
Yeah, pretty much dipping my toe in a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I see your socials. I see you you're getting in.
So there's at the moment I'm subby to a builder probably 50% of the time of my workload.
Just on hourly rate, just jumping in.
So he's got a couple of renos and some decks and random stuff going on, and I'll just ring him and say, all right, what do you need for the next couple of days? Do you need me every day for the next 2 weeks, or do you need me 2 days this week, 3 days next week, and we'll work it out, and then I can plan around that and go, all right, I've got this on these other days. So I'll do that. And at the moment, he's got a reno that's sort of just been a bit flipped up. The clients, as you probably know, they change their mind 50,000 times towards the end and go, this would have looked better. Can we
they change their mind as soon as they see it. As soon as they see it, and they're like, no, I don't like it.
Exactly what's happened. And so that's what's... so it feels like a bit of maintenance work at the moment on this big reno in Carrara. Mm-hmm. And then, I've just picked up another builder. He does a lot of insurance jobs, and he's done a couple of developments on his own, which he said he's going to do again this year. He's down at Benora Point. Yeah. So about to start a few jobs for him, some fix-out contracts and stuff like that, which would be pretty cool.
So you're going to take the contracts for the fix-outs and that sort of stuff?
So it's a bit of both. He'll say, here's a contract for, X, Y, Z. Any extras we'll agree on an hourly and work those days, and it'll be sweet. So that would be pretty cool. And then, I got a couple of, had a heap of random clients along the way that fill in the time and stuff like that. So, So you're enjoying it, just being out on your own and doing your own thing. And just the freedom, I think. It's just so much better being able to... Obviously, when I do got those builders and they sort of do rely on me and stuff like that, but on the same token, I'd know what's coming up that week, and if the kids have got something on, I can already say, no, I'll take this day off, and it sort of takes a burden off you, because no one's sort of relying on you as much being on your own. Like if you take a day off, it's only on you. You don't have 4 or 5 other blokes or a builder or other trades. Depending on what job you're on. Sometimes, there obviously is trades that rely on you to be there and do certain things. So there has been times where I still are like, no, I can't go do that. I've got to go to work and do this and that. But as we all do. Yeah, exactly. So you still...
It's not just for everyone that's listening out there. It's not all rainbows and lollipops when you work for yourself. You still got to...
You still miss out, and it's probably... I'll probably have worked a lot more Saturdays and even Sundays. Yeah,
because you were doing what were you doing recently? A fit out or something? Commercial fit out, I've seen.
Yeah, I did that fit out, and then just was doing a little bit of work for a mate. He's just actually I was fixing up his nursery and a few other things inside his house, and then he's like, oh, it's just for a nursery, and she still had a few weeks to go, and then I was about to go there Sunday just gone, and then she's like, oh, rain check, I'm going to hospital. I'm like, I'm like, all right, sweet. I'll talk in a couple of weeks.
He called that. That was running it quick. Yeah, my wife's pregnant at the moment as well, so we're going through all that at the moment. Nice. So was that, I guess this is interesting. So was that always something that when you wanted to get your certificate, because nothing was stopping you from just being a labourer and, going to the mines or staying around? Like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, what was your thought process of getting your certificate? Was it always to do what you're doing now with the flexibility of working for yourself? Was it always like not so much a money thing? Was it more of a flexibility thing? Or what was the actual thing that sort of pushed you in the direction to get your certificate? Because I know that there's a lot of guys out there that, they want their certificate for different reasons. Like, I got a guy that wants to get his certificate so he can go out there and, be the number 1 builder in Australia. Like, different guys, different reasons. So I'm just trying to find out, like, what was your reason for pushing to get your certificate one? Because don't forget, you were also, as you said, you were 30. There was nothing stopping you from just continuing doing what you were doing and chasing that sort of, those dollars that you were on. So.
Yeah, well, I think initially it was, like you said, I was 30 with a kid and potentially one in the future.
Because you were going to go back. Because I think what I'm trying to say is like for you to go down the path of doing your apprenticeship, you were nearly going to be going backwards. Yeah. So the thought of starting it was.
Yeah. Well, I think because even before I got to 30, for a couple of years before then, I did have thoughts of it, and even sort of had not so much goals, but I was always like, oh, maybe if I start now when I was like mid-20s or 27, I could be qualified by the time I was 30. And then I sort of just didn't take that initial step, I think, because potentially an ego thing or even a money thing, and then I didn't want to go backwards, and just like a fair few of those little reasons. But then, I got to 30 and I was like, nah, I have to do it. It's sort of just need to do it because then, give you that flexibility as well. But it wasn't so much to go out on my own. It was sort of just be a chippy, get my ticket.
Yeah.
And
so you just wanted to have some sort of qualification to show at the end of the day.
Just something to fall back on, really.
Yeah.
And then, where that work led to, I didn't know. Yeah. Like it wasn't sort of like, all right, get my ticket and then I'm going to go out my own. It sort of wasn't like that.
So you've just taken it as a bit of a, you knew that you wanted the qualification. Well, you wanted something to show for it.
Yeah.
And then you've sort of just let it, go at its own thing. I guess that's a good way to look at it. Like, there's guys that are out there that are fucking still in their first year and they're like, oh, I'm going to be a builder with my fucking high-rise license. I was like, good luck.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, good fucking luck, you know what I mean? But, hey, everyone's got dreams, so.
Yeah, if they can get to it.
Yeah, well, I guess, like, for you, like, it was sort of just, it sounded like you just sort of went with the flow and, little bit by little bit did, all you wanted was the qualification, and then it sort of just led to what it is now. And I think what you're doing now with the flexibility of being able to do what you want with your kids and at home and spending time with your partner and stuff is it's great. So
so that's where it's led to. And
and do you plan on for Chris the Chippy, is there any plan on growth, like you planning on like getting yourself an apprentice or anything like that, or are you just going to be cruising around just by yourself, or what's your
very early stages now, like, I'm still just going with the flow. I think partly because I still think I'm 25 and play local footy and that sort of thing, even though
you can be whatever you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Can be these days, can't you? But like I said earlier, I love me footy and stuff and playing and trying to play. So playing days are, hopefully I've got another year or two left of me.
That's what they all say.
So I just want to...
Next year will be my last year. Next year will be last year.
So I wouldn't mind just enjoying that for what it is, because even though it is local footy, you're sort of a long time retired. And once I give it up, because, I've been playing since I was like a little tacker. Yeah. Once I know it's done sort of thing. But then...
you'd be going into retirement, mate.
Yeah. Get the farewell. But once that's done, and then I free up a bit of time from weekends and kids playing sport, and then actually I do want to go do my Cert 4 and at least get me a limited builder's license to start with. If I get low res or whatever.
I think it's fucking great. I think it's good. I really like your mentality about it, because, as I said, I got a lot of young guys that are in my crew, and they all want it tomorrow. Everything. They want everything. So, I just hope they can take something away from it where it's, you don't need it all straight away. Just sort of just go with it, do little bit by little bit, and try to enjoy the thing that you got ahead of you, instead of trying to rush it and get there straight away. Like, I'm going to get there and do this and do that and fucking,
enjoy the journey. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but
everyone says it.
Yeah, you do. You got to sometimes smell the roses and stop and just chill out, and it comes with experience too. Like, Well,
you've got the life experience.
I don't think there'd be too many, if any at all, have gone from qualified to being a builder within 6 months and being good at it. Like, that's just my
look, guys. I can tell the audience from experience. When you get your builder's license and you sign that $1 million contract, it's never going to work.
No.
It's never going to work. You're never going to make any money, and good luck.
Yeah.
So that was a lesson that I had to learn the hard way. But each to their own. But no, that's really good. That's really good. So,
like we were talking as well earlier, speaking of Dwayne and his biggest thing is just education.
Yeah.
And that's where I try and, especially if I'm talking with my own clients. And
yeah,
I think Dwayne was only just speaking about it recently on his socials about, why you use certain products, and it's not just, it's cheaper, it's dearer, and so clearly it's better, but educating them, your clients, and exactly what benefits you're going to get out of using this product compared to something else that's 50% cheaper and probably not as good. So which is all that.
And I
as
think
well,
and I think for the people that are listening out there that aren't tradies, I think just doing a little bit of research, doing a bit, it pays when you've got a job that's 40,000 or 60,000, whatever it is, 10,000. Spend the 20 minutes or half an hour and research these guys that are out there, socials, Facebook, Google. Type their name in Google, just literally just do a little 15 minutes, half an hour. You'll find a backstory of someone.
Oh, 100.
And if you there's 1,000 groups out there, but if you search up someone and you go down the rabbit hole and actually deep dive into them, see why. If this guy's coming in and, he seems a little bit dodgy, and you do a bit of a background search and you can't find him anywhere, to me, it's a little bit concerning.
Yeah.
If he's got, I'm not saying everyone's got to be on social media, but I'm just saying that, if he's got nothing out there that you can find, it's well, you're just taking him for face value. You're about to give him all that money on the hope that he does the right thing. Where if you got a guy, same thing again, I'm not saying that everyone that's got social media and has got Facebook and that are legit. But if you've got a guy that's, that's got a bit of a front and he's, on socials, you can see that he's taking photos with his kids, a bit of a thing about him. I know personally who I would probably go with, but each their own. So I can just say, for the people that are out there, just do a little bit of research before you go down the path. Otherwise, you will get
for sure.
jammed like that. And there are guys out there that do that back to back, change their name.
Yeah.
Go to...
Hear about it all the time.
Oh, yeah. So...
But on that as well, always talk about, comparing it to buying a car. I'm sure everyone's done it when you buy a car. You probably, think about it for months and months and months and talk about it.
Do your research, watch videos.
Because you're about to drop 30, 40 or 50K on a car or whatever it might be. So you're going to do that research. And then when you do, this is the other conversation I've had with especially painters as well, always talking about it. People who buy cars and nice cars are washing them every week, but you spend $700, $800, $1 million on a house, and when was the last time you washed it?
Yeah.
I think that's where, as well, maintenance on your house is a massive thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that we're looking at doing now. It's washing the outside of our house because, it's just getting absolutely destroyed. But, it's just, it is a lot of money. And I think, I've touched on it previously in the past with other guys that we've spoken to. And, the industry that we're in, building, construction, is unlike any other industry.
No.
When you've got a mum and a dad willing to give you $500,000, tell me another industry other than, stock broking and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to give you $500,000 to build the house, and you got to do it. It's a lot of stress, a lot of concerns. There's a lot of stuff a lot of moving parts that go into it. So it does pay dividends to do your research, have a look at who you're dealing with, and just ask around as well. Find other guys. I remember in the early days when I was when I started contracting out, and I was trying to find, because as I said, cash flow was tight. And every time I used to get burnt, it used to really cripple me. Yeah. Whether it was $2,000 or $20,000, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And so I had to make sure that the people that I was working for that they were going to pay me. So how I used to do it in the early days, it's a little bit different now, but was basically I used to just drive around and find guys that were working on those jobs, wait until 3:30 in the afternoon when they're all at their trucks packing up, and just literally pass and comment and just say, hey boys, I'm thinking about jumping on this job here. What do you reckon? And you'll know within the first 30 seconds, if one guy pipes up, I wouldn't fucking do it, mate. He doesn't pay, or, this and that. You'd be like, oh, well, why's that? Then you do your research. So exactly. It goes both ways. It's not just for the clients dealing with builders, but it's also for the tradies looking to deal with contractors and developers and other guys. Just don't just be, don't let the carrot be hung in front of you and then go for it just because the money's good. The money might be great, but if that guy holds you up on defects and doesn't want to pay you or this, that, and the other, you may as well have just been sitting at home doing nothing.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
But yeah, all right. So we're coming to the end now, but so is there any sort of future plans for ChrissyTeeTheChippy? I know you're going pretty hard on socials with your tool reviews and anything like that. Any products, anything else that you're sort of working on at the moment outside of socials, or?
No, like we touched on earlier. Yeah. Not too much else. No. Other than pretending I'm 25 and trying to play local footy.
Yeah.
But not much else. Just family life, work.
Yeah.
Just not so much taking it easy, but just going with the flow and. Yeah.
And I guess the final thing that I want to touch about, this is something we can talk about now, is the mental health side of it. So, for me personally, myself, I lost my old man back in 2021, and he was, he was the reason why I got in the trade, and there was all this other sort of stuff that sort of unfolded as well. So, for me, I had a lot of stuff. I was getting married. I had my first kid on the way. He passed away. I had a job. I had a massive job that we were wrapping up. I had a few guys leave. There was heaps of stuff. So, for myself, my mental health journey has been, my wife, thank her dearly. She's sort of been with me throughout the whole thing, and psychologist and speaking to guys, and for me, my thing was, I enjoyed going to work. That sort of relieved me of not reality, but would sort of just let me, rather than be sitting at home scrolling on my phone or fucking looking at the ceiling, I'd be looking at a door handle, working on it, and that would sort of, remove my mental, help me with my mental space. So, I just wanted to find out from you, have you got any, any stories to tell in regards to that, along your journey with, your apprenticeship, or, and how's that sort of been with you?
Yeah, so I think pretty much like everyone these days, now that everyone's speaking about it and stuff like that, we've all dealt with it at some stage of our lives, in big or small, and obviously, I think we touched on it before we started recording. I think the last probably 4 to 6 months of my apprenticeship, it was the toughest time. I think it was more the financial side of things. Was really struggling massively, and just it was the first time in a very long time, waking up was a struggle. It was huge, and like I said, financially, it got to the point where, because this was middle of COVID, and
were you, sorry to interrupt, but were you working for yourself at this time, or were you currently working for someone and they let you go because of COVID, or what was the...
rewind. So when I was with the first builder, he had his own thing going on, and then folded up shop, and all us chippies left, and I think I was a year and a half into my apprenticeship. Yeah. And it was literally 3 weeks before COVID hit Australia. So it was January.
Did he fold up because of COVID, or was it just...
No, he folded up just because he just had enough at work. He'd been a chippy and a builder for 20 years, and he had his own, he had his own mental health battles and stuff like that. So he had to sort of slow a lot of things up and just sort of keep himself ticking along. Yeah. This was over Christmas, early January, and I got the email off his wife to say, that unfortunately I had to terminate. They said they'd keep me on for another 3 to 4 weeks to get as much online theory done as possible, but that was pretty much it. And then, pretty much middle of February, it was like COVID's hit Australia. And then...
fucking still, man. It's hard, when you really think back, you forget about like all the sites like shutting, and then it was no one knew what was going on, and then some sites were good, some sites weren't, and then then it's crazy times.
Pretty much that happened, and then I jumped on with a couple of mates, just doing back to labouring again, just to get some money in the door, and then like you said, like everyone was just slowly shutting up or just going real slow, putting blokes off because no one knew what the next 6 months were like. So ringing up trying to ask for put me on as a mature age was like on a needle in a haystack. Like everyone I rang or spoke to, or
not at the moment, mate.
Basically, oh, sorry, mate, I've just had to put 2 of my own off, so maybe in a few months I'll keep your number. And so that happened. Like I spoke to, between emails and phone calls, was probably like over 100 plus builders and chippy crews on the coast, and even up in Brizzy, was, even messaged Dwayne and stuff like that, and even he said the same thing. Like he just was like, don't know what the unknown was like, and then I did jump on. Funnily enough, one of my mates was a builder, so I did the last 2 years with him. So did my last year and a bit with him, and then stayed on for a few more months after that. But it was more that financial pressure. It was tough. Like I was literally scrounging up $20 just to get fuel in the car. Like it was like people talk about day to day, or we live in paycheck to paycheck, but we're living day to day, like missing meals so the kids could eat. And like this was over a 3 or 4 month period. I'd probably dropped nearly 15 kilos, and I'm not that big of a guy as it is. So like that was really tough at that time, and and I think that's probably why I enjoy what I'm doing now. Because I know where I've come from, and it wasn't like going to work was the good part. Like going there, once I was on site and doing work, like that was good. It was more, fuck, what am I eating today? Have I got $10 to get a meal or eat a sausage roll and a can of Coke or and then I'd know,
tough,
like I was literally going home and having like scraps from the kids. Like it just
2 minute noodles and soups.
But it was just the time, like, because I think on the back of that too, like we weren't doing any overtime, so that extra $300-400 I was getting overtime 6 months before that, like, wasn't there anymore. Because we were like, the boys were just like, fuck, we just need to work 7 to 3. That's all we can do, because again, like they didn't know what was going to happen and whether we're going to get the next 2 or 3 jobs through the door to keep the next 12 months going and stuff like that. So, that was huge mentally.
So now you got the flexibility of, you can work more if you want more. And
exactly.
You got, I guess that's the one good thing about when you're out on your own. You've got the stress of, all the rest of that comes with it. But when you've got a vast pool of guys that you can work for, I feel like you can, as long as you're good to them, I feel like you can never really be without work.
100%.
Especially when you've got, 5 or 6 decent contacts. One of them surely always got to have something going. So, but no, that's good. All right, I think that's a bit of a wrap for this afternoon. So I just want to say thanks again for coming down. I know it wasn't just around the corner, and we got chatting away, and no, it was good. It was good to put a face to the name. And, thanks for telling your story. I hope we get a little bit more insight for the guys that are listening. Matt, I think this one was good for the guys out there that are mature age, that are thinking about doing an apprenticeship, and that, are trying to rush it to get everything that they want right now. Just relax and just, try to enjoy the journey. I think that's something to take away from today. So, thanks again, Chris. And appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
So.